Hi, I'm Sarah from the upcoming. A real pleasure to have you here with us in beautiful Venice. Maybe you could just kick off with a brief introduction to your film, The Maiden, for people who don't know anything about it. What can they expect?
Sure. So my film is called The Maiden, and it is set in a city called Calgary, Alberta, which is a small Canadian city near the mountains. And it's about the lives of three teenagers and one day that a tragedy occurs, and it sort of connects them in a very strange and cosmic way.
And tell us about the genesis of the project. What sparked the idea, and why did you want to put this story on screen?
I think that the project very much grew out of a combination of different things, but I think one of the central pieces of it came from this train bridge that's in the ravine, which is where we shot most of the film. And this train bridge is covered in graffiti, and it has all of these sort of makeshift memorials and declarations of love that would constantly sort of shift and change places as people would paint over them, and other messages or pieces of graffiti would take their place. And I was always fascinated by the sort of mystery of the people maybe who were writing these messages, and also reflecting on my youth and spending time in these spaces. And then also the train itself, which is such an incredibly powerful, almost prehistoric, like industrial dinosaur that makes the earth shake as it goes by in an otherwise very peaceful, natural place. So I think all of these things sort of coalesced in the story of the Maiden.
And tell us about your wonderful cast and kind of how you worked with them, sort of, with this semi improvised performance, if you could describe it that way. What that experience was like for you.
Sure, they're all three are newcomers, and I feel so grateful to have been able to work with them. They're all amazing kids, and I think one thing that I respect so greatly about each of them is their ability to sort of be themselves no matter what. And so they really bring a lot of the liveliness of their personality and the things that I really love about each of them into the characters of the film. And we worked in a very sort of free-flowing way. I really wanted them to be able to use their own cadence of speaking and their own words in some cases. There's several characters in the film that have some really amazing catchphrases, and I just wanted to make sure that we didn't lose that magic, because I had, been sitting in a room alone writing dialogue that maybe didn't fit the voices of the cast. So it was a lot of fun, and I think they all did an amazing job.
And in terms of kind of working with, people who haven't been in a film before, or, aren't that experienced, does that present challenges, but also wonderful moments? Maybe you can pinpoint a few things that maybe highlight some challenges along the way.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe more magic than challenges in my experience for this film, but certainly there were some pieces of dialogue that were pretty surprising to me as I was listening through the headphones of their lav mics, and one particular was when Whitney and Kyle are walking through the woods, and Whitney asks Kyle if he reads, and he says he doesn't read at all, except for maybe Thrasher. And then Whitney asks what's Thrasher, and Kyle replies, the Bible, which is what a lot of really great skateboarders call Thrasher magazine. And it was a completely improvised exchange, and Whitney or Haley genuinely did not know what Thrasher was, so it was a very funny moment.
And thinking about the way it's shot and kind of, the aesthetic, if you like, or the kind of visual language that you like to use. Can you talk us through, sort of in a practical way, how you shot it and how you wanted it to look and how that was going to help you tell your story?
For sure, I think I've been working with the cinematographer. He's a good friend of mine, Kelly Jeffrey, for almost 10 years, and we started in film school together, and we've been shooting on film, either 16 millimeter or 35 millimeter, for almost every project. We love the discipline that shooting on film creates in a production, and I think we were also very excited in this case to try to capture a very subtle distance between reality and this almost magical quality that the psychological space of the characters enter after experiencing a great loss in his life. And so it felt correct to shoot this project on 16 millimeter film.
And in terms of your work as a director, do you take influences from other films that you watched growing up or throughout the course of your career, or from other directors? Do you have like references that you think have infused your own filmmaking style?
I think it's impossible not to, but I'm a huge film lover and I watch films all the time. But while I was writing the film, I was very much trying to avoid watching too many films that might maybe influence the direction of the story or the film too much. But certainly one filmmaker and cinematographer that Kelly and I spoke at length about before shooting the film was Harris Savitas, and his collaborations with Gus Van Sant. And we just think they're amazing.
And what do you hope people will take away from watching your film?
I hope that they find their own way through the story. I think there's many ways that you can read the film, but I hope that people feel the connection and the friendship that's in the film as much as they feel the grief, loneliness, and loss.
Mm. Well, yeah, in that sense, do you think there are key themes that emerge, that you were thinking of when you were making it?
I think definitely alienation and that sort of experience of being a teenager, and something that I spoke with the actors at length about was this feeling that sort of permeated the pandemic and their individual experiences going through the last couple of years. And I think that that's a theme that wasn't necessarily my intention when I set out to write the film, but very much sort of permeates, I think, the way that the characters navigate their experiences, and also drives their needs and their wants in the film, which is truly to find connection and friendship.
Do you think that it's harder being a young person today than it has been? I don't know if you can say that, but sometimes there's an illusion of progress, but then in lots of ways actually is it tougher? The fact that a lot of young people now do feel isolated and or live their lives through social media. And
It's hard to say. I can only speak from my experience, but I certainly feel that social media makes life a lot harder than not being on social media. I'm an old guy, and when it comes to social media stuff.
and what does it mean to you to have your film here in Venice? And what's the experience been like for you so far?
It's unbelievable. It's magic. We're so grateful to be at Giornote, and we're so grateful to the selection committee for choosing our film, and the experience has been absolutely amazing for the whole team.
And finally, can you tell us what you might be working on next? Have you got another film in mind, or?
I do have a couple projects that I've been developing, but I feel like they're too early in a too early stage to talk at any length about. But very excited to make another film, feature length film.
And do you feel like there's a very specific kind of cinema that comes out of Canada, and that infuses your films? So how do you see the health of the industry in your own country?
I can only be myself, so I try to make sure that I'm being true to who I am and my own experience, and so all I can hope that we can offer something new and maybe something strange that hasn't been seen yet in Canadian film.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with us, and really enjoy the rest of your time here in Venice. Thank you.
So much for the interview.